Step 3. Made a decision to build a sandbox, giving life to schemas as we understood them. As we begin building tables for our ERP database, I want to take a moment to explain what an ERP database actually is. An ERP database is the central storage location for all the data managed by an ERP system. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. These systems help businesses manage key operations like finance, inventory, human resources, sales, and purchasing. Rather than using separate tools for each department, an ERP system brings everything together into a single connected platform. The ERP database stores all that information so teams across the business can access, share, and update data in real time. In this series, we will be working with sample data from PeopleSoft. While we won't cover every module in these systems, we will focus on a hand-picked set of core modules, enough to give you a solid understanding of how ERP data is structured and how reporting is built around it. We'll move forward with the sample tables and SQL scripts as they are reviewing how the data is structured, how the metadata is displayed, and how we can start modeling around it. Now it's time to unzip the files we downloaded from Google Drive. These contain the SQL scripts we'll use to build our ERP sandbox environment. First, we'll create 2 new databases, one for SAP and one for PeopleSoft. These will serve as our sandbox environments for the series. Next, we'll use the SQL scripts to create the base tables within each database. Once those tables are set up, we'll run additional scripts to load mock data into them. This sample data will be the foundation for the reporting and analysis we'll perform in later steps. It's time to get started. Open SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS, and connect to your local server. Once connected, go to the Object Explorer panel on the left, right-click on the database folder, and select New Database. At the top of this window, you'll see a field labeled Database Name. Enter the following names to keep this consistent. SAP_Sandbox. And then click OK. Go back up to the folder, right-click the database folder, select New Database. In Database Name, type in PeopleSoft_Sandbox. Create each database separately, one at a time. You don't need to change any other settings. Leave everything else as default. Once you've named the database, click OK at the bottom. Repeat the process for the second database. You should now see both Sandbox databases listed under your local server. Now you're ready for us to start building tables. As I've explained previously, these steps are to create tables, load data, and then I've added a last step of creating table views. The steps are the same for every one of the systems we'll be working. I will expand on that in the step 4 segment. So open your ERP zip files that you've extracted and go to FSCM, and we'll start with the PeopleSoft base tables. If you have not created a schema, which likely you haven't, you're going to need to run the create schema FSCM statement. I've already run it, so I can run the script to create the tables. Right-click the tables folder, select refresh, and the tables will appear. Once that's complete, you can close your SQL script, go back to your folder, and select sample data. This is not an efficiently written SQL statement, but it works for what we're doing. You'll see 2 types of insert statements. This is one that is inefficient. Execute, and it inserts the data 1 line at a time, not very efficient. Then go to the tables, select top 1000, and you'll see the data has populated in the table. You can close that script, then go back to your folder. Here you have the schema views. You want to be conscious of the schema. That is the prefix to the table name. You have FSCM. Be aware of that and ensure that that schema exists. Please run these table views one at a time or individually. This is about repetition, becoming familiar with the process of running SQL scripts and working within SQL Server Management Studio. Once you've run all of these scripts, close the SQL script, go back to your folders under PeopleSoft Sandbox, right-click on the Views folder, and select Refresh, and your views will appear. From here, we will go back to our zip folder we've downloaded and go to the SCM module. There we have our Create Schema statement, and you can run the script. Next, go to the sample data, execute the sample data, and this is the more efficiently written statement. Refresh your tables. You'll see the new tables appear. You can right-click the table, select Top 1000. Once that's complete, you can navigate back to your folder, your zip files that you have downloaded from the repository or from Google Drive, and run the views. Again, please be aware that the view name, the table names have been appended with the schema. The schema is important because it organizes your tables. See here, I am appending the SCM to the table view. If you do not have the schema, by default, SQL Server will place the object in the DBO schema. We want to reserve the DBO schema for more system-related tasks. Go to the Views folder, right-click, select Refresh, and you should see your views there with the schema identifier appended to the front. Looking at the schema, these views will be used for reporting. There are fact views and there are dimension views. The fact is the transaction level data, the lower data, and the dimension is more descriptive data. For example, you see supplier name here, and the purchase order is connected to the supplier name by the supplier ID. We will go further into that in the next step when we do an inventory of our schemas. Now that we have done a few PeopleSoft modules, now we'll look at SAP. Here you will see the process is exactly the same. First, select your base tables, ensure that the schema exists and is appended to the front of the table names, separated by a period. Once you've created the tables, load the tables with data, and then finally run the create view scripts, or each statement within the create view script. This is a repetitive process. You're following repeatable procedure for building your data store. In the next lesson, I'll be talking more about how to repair, how to completely wipe the sandbox and start fresh. This way you have repeatable standards to run within your sandbox environment. It also gives you confidence, familiarity in running SQL scripts and managing data within a sandbox environment.